All right, good morning, good evening, good night. It is the Nifty Q Show. We are bringing you the founders, creators, influencers, just badass people across the space there. But I do have Kieran Warwick, guys, here from Illuvium. Super excited to have you on the channel, man. Guys, I got to tell you, like I was talking with Kieran right before the episode. He was feeling down. He was feeling sick, but he is giving it a go anyways, and that says a lot about the project, a lot about you, man. So I appreciate you giving it a go for today's episode.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me on again. Glad to be here. And yeah, I'm not. I've been dealing with this thing that just keeps on popping up every now and again, and it's just, I'll get it under control. But yeah, it's still excited to be here. Gotta keep talking about it.
Yeah, I feel like you've done an episode every day for like the last 5 days. So I appreciate you rounding it out with the Nifty Q Show.
It's been like multiple. There's a bunch that are coming out in like, I don't know. I seem to go on these like AMA tears and then there's conferences and all that kind of stuff. But I guess it just comes with the show.
Yeah, man. I feel that. I feel that a lot. So, we're going to have a great conversation. I feel like Illuvium episodes just hit different. I've been talking about Illuvium for a long time on the network. We got a lot of fans. A lot of your community members are hopping in the chat as well. Love that these can be live. You can check it out on audio afterwards, guys, as well. So we're going to talk about everything they've got going on. If you don't know anything about Illuvium, they're building an open world RPG adventure game built on Ethereum. They're also building an auto battler chess game, which we're going to get into. Land sales, token, all of the good stuff, man. So I guess without, jumping the gun here, I want to ask my first question. When is the SNX flipping happening between ILV and SNX?
I think, well, I want it to happen on our own terms. I know the SNX price hasn't been doing too well in the past 6 months, but I think you're going to see that. I wanted it to be before the end of the year, but I think it'll be sometime around Feb, March of next year.
So you're making the call here on stream.
Yeah. I'm happy to put it down. I would say by latest March. I really don't see, once we've launched and people see what we've actually built here and how in depth this game actually is, I'm not too worried about synthetics.
Ooh, those are fighting words, man. I'm gonna clip this and send it to Kane. But this is what we're gonna do. Let's recap the growth of Illuvium, right? I had you on the channel like I believe 3-4 months ago, kind of a full quarter. But you guys released the trailer. I'm getting my dates all mixed up, but like maybe a year ago, and like all the hype was just like so quick, so fast. You guys had a lot of people just salivating at the game to be, and now you've had this whole year to kind of build and to grow out your team. What has been the growth like just in that time period for Illuvium and where you sit today?
It honestly has been outrageous, right? Like we were talking about it, Grant, Aaron, and myself, we were talking about like how quickly we got to $1 billion valuation. And like, it just obviously from an external point, it's probably one of the fastest times a gaming studio has ever hit $1 billion valuation, if not the fastest. Because you got to remember, a lot of the games that are out now, they had a 3-year building cycle or a 2-year building cycle or whatever. We're literally like, not many people know this, but we've only really been going hardcore building for like 12 months now, a little bit longer than that. And so, to grow to the size that we have, and probably more importantly, the team size that we have, like we've got 175 people now. And I feel like every AMA that I go on, even if it's like backed up the next day, I'm saying like a new number. And that's literally because in our general chat, it's like, welcome Steve, welcome Peter, welcome Wendy, welcome. And it's just like, fuck, we almost got to like truncate these welcome messages now and start saying, as a group, welcome these 15 new people.
How long is the GM chat? Do you guys say GM all the way down?
No. But like when a new person comes on, we welcome them to the team. Obviously, we're that's the other crazy thing. It's like 170 people. I reckon I've met 150 of them, maybe. So that's crazy, right? Like you think about an organization of our size, you know, we're like across the board, our social accounts are, you know, getting to extremely large sizes. We've just hit the top 10,000 websites in the world. Like we're not, you know, we've got Google reaching out to us and stuff like that, saying like, hey, you're going off the charts across the board here. We need to help you. Like, why haven't you spoken to us? And it's like, we've just started. Like, it's only been 12 months, like a little bit over, like when the idea was first thought about, we're talking 15 months. Like, that's it. So everything is outrageous. Everything is crazy. And it's just a wild ride, man.
Does it get overwhelming? And how do you deal with that overwhelmingness feel if you do get it?
Well, I mean, I think it does. The craziest part is like I've been doing this for a long, long time, and so in terms of like startup nature of like just work stupid hours, run your body down. But I think the added stress of this touching so many people worldwide, and like I'm the type of person that feels not obligated, but somewhat like if someone invests in me, I want to give them the best outcome back. And in past situations, it might have been 20, 30 investors in a business that I'm running. When you're talking 30, 40,000 people out there that have invested in this, some people, you know, millions of dollars, it's hard to live with that burden, you know, when you want to make sure that you can give them a return. And I always, you know, I'm always focused on what that potential, if anyone is in the red who's purchased our token. And so times like this, where there's a bit of a market downturn and we were up around 1900, and I haven't even looked today, but I think we'll be somewhere around 1300. That delta there is what I'm trying to make up. Like, I want everyone to be in the green. I want us hitting ATHs every single day. And so it's hard to sort of cope with that. But at the same time, you know, you just got to do it. It is what it is.
Yeah. You know, when you guys first launched, Warwick obviously like jumped off the screen. You hadn't made too much of a name for yourself in the space, at least as much as Kane had with Synthetix, but already immediately I kind of like, once I heard you for the first time and you had again the name of being at Warwick and seeing how well Synthetix did. I mean, you're making a name for yourself now, and honestly, I would invest more just because you guys are just getting after it. Like, teams are what make projects in crypto, and what you just said is exactly what I want to hear. The fact that you're and take some breaks too. Take some breaks for yourself, but you guys are absolutely just getting after it for your investors, for your users, gamers, all the above.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, big shout out to Aaron. As I said, I've been doing this a long time. He took a little bit of a different route in the sense of, you know, he hasn't had this level of pressure of, you know, he's run businesses before, but not to this extent as well. And that guy is just a rock. He's getting to a point where I'm like, shit, he's going to go to Norway and have a bit of a break over the next couple of weeks coming up. But he's just unwavered, and it's been super impressive to see.
Amazing. So for those people that are in the chat right now who, like I said at the beginning, I don't know where you are or where you've been for the last 12 months, but you don't know what Illuvium is, could you give them the elevator pitch for what you guys are building there? And then we can kind of go into what you guys have been developing over the last, I would say, 12 months, but more recent here in the last quarter.
Yeah, for sure. So what we're trying to build is the first AAA game on the blockchain. We're completely decentralized. We're governed by the community. We the actual title is a mixture. I would say it's very, very similar to Pokemon, but instead of the battle mechanics being a turn-based RPG, we've utilized the auto battler genre, which you can check out if you go and play something like Teamfight Tactics or You can play Dota's version, and there's a few others that are out there. But it's essentially what we're trying to do is build one of the best looking games that has really, really deep backstory, a lot of lore, and we're trying to make the characters invoke that psychology of collecting. That's what we're trying to do. That's, I guess that is in a nutshell what Illuvium is.
Awesome. And so the roadmap updates that you guys have hit over the past quarter, I know I love the app, the new trailer that you guys got launched. I love seeing the land updates where you can kind of, it almost looks like a StarCraft vibe here, where you're able to like farm resources. SILV, of course, ILV token. Like, you guys have been getting after it when it comes to the updates. Kind of lay those out for me, what you guys have been able to do in the last quarter, and then in the next quarter, Q1 2022. What are we looking for?
Sure. So we decided we wanted to tap into. We saw a lot of projects inside the metaverse start launching land projects, and they were launching these land projects without any sort of use case. And so we wanted to come out and show that that we had a really big team that was capable of producing what we would like to say we originally were calling it a mini game. It's probably progressed into a little bit more, but we basically wanted to demonstrate that we could launch land, we could do a land sale, and then you would actually have utility for that land when the game comes out. And so essentially Illuvium Zero is interconnected with Illuvium. The way that it works is all of the in-game functions inside Illuvium, things like curing of shards, that's required. Like, shards are required to go out and capture the monsters in our world, and it costs a small fee to be able to cure those. That fee is essentially fuel. Now, there's 3 types of fuels that are used across the Illuvium universe, and the way that it works is you're essentially, if you're a landowner, you're building this sort of command and conquer style. It's an idle clicker. I'm not going to go out and say that it's a crazy complex game, because it's not. Has pretty cool basic but cool graphics, and essentially you're building up your different sites and factories and whatever to mine the resources from the land, and then which we're calling fuel. And then essentially we've created this balancer pool that sits in the middle. And on one side, you have the people from Illuvium that are paying ETH for these fuels in order to continue to travel and make skins and all these kind of things. And then on the other side, you've got the landowners who are trying to extract as much fuel as possible, because they want to sell it to the people who play Illuvium. And so you have this two-sided marketplace where it might go up, it might go down, depending on the demand of each fuel type. If you're a landowner and you get somewhat screwed and the fuel type that you have abundance of is actually not that popular, there's little things like a converter that you can do a bunch of actions and wait a bunch of time, and then you can build this converter that will allow you to start converting your not so optimal fuel for the more expensive fuel. You can then sell that into the balancer pool, and then eventually over time it's meant to balance itself out on both sides.
Yeah, I want to get into some details here, and we do have some comments coming through about that specific land sale details and things like this. Aavegotchi kind of laid out the map that they were doing their land sale for, and then had the resources kind of laid out, saying if you build right next to this resource, or you own a piece of land right next to this resource, that is the resource you'll be able to farm. Is that going to be available prior to me knowing or going to the sale? Like, how will I know what resources are going to be on my land?
So we've specified what is going to be on there, like as in the number of sites element sites and the number of fuel sites, if it has a landmark or not, and that's we basically drafted an IIP which hasn't been finalized yet. We're just deliberating on the pricing that these lands come out and stuff like that. But I'm fairly certain that everyone's okay with the way that we've handled the sale, in which we're saying, if you buy this tier, you're going to get this many sites, and you're going to either get a landmark or not get a landmark. And then that is going to, what type of site you get is obviously random. And so that's where we want to keep it a little bit fun. And we don't want people to have advantages like, if you get in first, you can see exactly where there's going to be better land than others. It's that there's a randomness to it that allows us to keep it fair, which is essentially what we're trying to do across the board with this sale in terms of it being a Dutch auction. We don't want people to FOMO in. We don't want it to end up being like a gas war and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, to answer your question, but you will know roughly what you are buying.
Gotcha. Okay. I want to get a little bit more into how the land actually plays into the open world mechanism, but I got 3 lightning questions here that I want to go through from the community. David asks, can Kieran comment about the land price and potential price change? Just, I guess, the details on, what the price will be at auction. I guess you mentioned it's a Dutch auction. What price would that start at?
Yeah. So they all the different tiers start at different prices. We are thinking that we need to probably double the price, but again, we don't want to make a call because people can purchase. We've allowed people, and I'm going to be very clear here because I did an AMA the other day where apparently I wasn't, but you can purchase land using SILB. Right? And we have a situation right now where, based on the pricing, based on the initial pricing that we put out there, if everyone purchased using the amount of circulating SILB that was out there at literally the highest price possible, then we would end up with something like 95 or 97%. And this is now, there's still obviously another, period of time prior where people are accumulating more SILB. It was going to get to the stage where if everyone used it, there would be no ETH and it would just be SILB, right? Which, again, I'm totally okay with that because it means that people are going to be using ETH in game when it launches, and the circulating supply is going to be diminished massively. But at the same time, I think that we need to capture a happy medium here and have some amount of ETH that is distributed and demonstrating our tokenomics and our revenue distribution system. And then another part of it is we do want to reduce the circulating supply of SILB, and we do want to give people it's not so much an advantage. It's saying, because you're an early adopter, because you have this SILB, we're going to give you the opportunity to use that, essentially.
Yeah, you almost have to play that balance, right? Like, you want to reward early adopters, but I could see the other side of it, of people saying, well, that's just going to be a reward for only those people. I want to get involved too. So a couple more I've got. Illuvium land when? Do we know the exact date by chance?
I do. It's something that I don't really. So
you don't have to say it. Give us a relative.
The trouble is it's gonna be ready very, very early, or probably even around Christmas time. We've got to get the timing right, and I'm going back and forth with marketing. Previously, the way that we did things was essentially just build and build and build and build, and as soon as it's ready, just get it out there, right? Like, just do it. Now we've got a beast of a marketing team, and they're kind of like, no, we can't work with that. We need some time. And so that's why I don't want to say an exact date, but I'm thinking it's going to be, I'm very, very, very certain that it's going to be around the middle of Jan.
Okay.
Saying it. That's what we're going with.
Lock it in. Lock it in. I'm going to clip this one too, right after that Kane clip. David Henderson asks, and we'll keep this short because I do want to get to like more details about the game. David Henderson says, what is the timeline for the land sale after the first sale? Is there like going to be multiple rounds of land sales, or this is only one?
Yeah, so in my head, and again, there needs to be a lot more thought that goes into this, but I see us distributing that land over the next 2 to 3 years. I think they're going to be events that get larger and larger and larger in terms of the revenue generation. And so we want land sale revenue almost to be a constant thing that is being distributed out to people who are staked in the protocol. And I think that would be a really cool thing.
So okay, I got it. The last question I'll I guess ask is it's related to this land sale. I remember when you came on the first time I had you on the channel, Aaron was a little bit cautious about this land situation because he wants him to focus on the game. I think that's the conversation we were having. Has he eased up a little bit? Is he okay with this land situation happening now?
Well, I mean, I remember I spoke to you when I just kind of just wanted to cash in on the land sale. Like I want to cash in on the Avatar sale. And when I say cash in, I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
But what I really mean is, there was an opportunity for us to sell land, and it was a good opportunity. And so, yes, I was pushing it and whatever. But then once he says yes, he's like, all right, now let's turn it into a game. And then not just a game, let's go a mini game. And then the other day he's like, Kieran, I wouldn't even call this a mini game. Like this is, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like now I'm the one sitting here like, let's get back onto the main game. And so he has himself to blame if he thinks that. That's all I can say.
You guys should like film a documentary in your office. This actually sounds really fun. All right, anything related to Illuvium Zero in the land sale that we didn't touch on right there? We have a couple more things I obviously want to hit as it's related to the game, of course, but anything as it's related to Illuvium Zero or the land sale specifically?
I think you just got pretty much everything out of me. Unfortunately, it's not going to be on layer 2. We were hoping it could be. It's something that we're hoping in the future land sales will be on layer 2. But it will definitely be on layer 1.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on to a couple more features, guys. You did talk about avatars there for a second. It was a little moment, but I want to blow that moment up here and talk about it. I saw a couple teasers that you had of alluvials that were essentially PFPs, and you're potentially doing this avatar sale and release. How does this fit into everything? And just give me the lowdown.
So Alluviatars we've been building in the background. It's actually, if you follow on in the Discord, then you will know that I've been talking about these things for probably 6 months now. It's been something that Roger, our lead concept artist, he's been doing it, but he hasn't been focusing on it. And I've been like, man, these avatars, they're going to be big. And then all of the BAC stuff, like everything, all of these PFP projects started just blowing up. And so we decided we want to do it, but we don't want to do it in the sense of, we're trying to bring 100 million players to Illuvium, right? And so most of the avatar projects you have out there, there's only 10,000 in the mint, and that's how you keep them rare. And that's amazing, and we would be able to sell these things for ridiculous amounts of money on the basis of so many people being in the Illuvium ecosystem, but it doesn't fit with the ethos of fairness, which we always look towards. And I want every single person who plays the game to have an Illuvitar, right? To have their own avatar that they can use it across all of the different games that we have in the universe. keep in mind, I keep saying universe, not metaverse, because our metaverse doesn't exist. We are living inside the metaverse for every other project that's watching. But we need to not make, it's not so much a cash grab or whatever. It's simply so people can represent themselves. And so we've taken all 150 Illuvatars in the first minting set, and each set will last about 3 months. And there's 15, roughly 15 in each set. And the starting ones that we've used are like, I've shown, I think there's like 10 that I've shown in the Twitter leak that I did. We've picked really popular ones that we think are going to be, the most sought after in the first Genesis set. And instead of saying that there's only 10,000, there's an unlimited amount that you can mint. And the higher there's different tiers. So the more you spend, the higher the chance of you getting like a tier 5 Illuvatar, which is obviously going to be rarer, probably more valuable. But the key thing is, once set 2 comes out, very similar to how the game works, right? Illuvium. Once set 2 comes out, you'll never be able to mint that Illuvatar again, right? And so that's what makes our avatars rare. So the idea is, when we might have 100,000 of these things that get minted, but then when we have 10 million players and they want to come in and pick up one of these Genesis set 1s, they can't get them. They have to mint a set 2 unless you buy it off a player on the Illuvidex, right? And so the other thing that makes them cool and rare is we put accessory slots on the base layer. And so the idea is you can go and buy a box which will give you accessories, which, they might be a tattoo, it might be a mohawk, it might be some glasses, it might be a cigar, a joint, whatever. I don't know, whatever you mint, and we're constantly going to be updating these accessories. And so the quality that you see it's taken us a long, long time to be able to do this, but the quality is a lot higher than what you would typically see in your standard avatar crypto project.
Gotcha. And is the idea to have this be like represented on users' profiles, and then the additional like utility of owning it? Is it a collectible series essentially that you're just kind of having as in your wallet? Okay.
Yeah, so it's just a collectible. It's your way. I wanted a way for people to represent themselves in our universe, and then eventually in the greater metaverse. So if someone else creates a project where they're like, okay, we're using AR and you can come in and literally be your avatar, I want people walking around using their Illuvatar rather than their CryptoPunk.
I was just having a conversation, shout out to CryptoLander, one of the guys in our community, OG member, of course, talking about how having that profile picture makes you a brand ambassador, essentially, of the whatever brand you're repping. So having those brand ambassadors for Illuvium is the play.
Yeah, it even comes like projects do it with emojis. They put a set of emojis, and then you watch people, they want to show off, I'm one of those members. Like, you look at the Spartans, you look at the Link Marines. It's happened everywhere. I just want Twitter to it's obviously it's meant to be utilized for in-game, but really it's a way to flex on Twitter to say like, hey, I've got this super rare Illuvatar. Because the thing is as well, we've allowed, so yes, you can purchase these things and you can keep on minting and minting. If you're if you're a whale, you can continue to mint until you are happy with what you get. But one thing that you can't change is you can actually win things within the game. So if you unlock a major achievement, you might unlock yourself an accessory that is only accessible in game, right? And so it doesn't matter how much money you have unless you're a player. And what I think is going to happen is I reckon someone's going to get like the lowest tier Iluvatar you can, and they're going to not put any accessories apart from like a single like holographic crown that they've won from winning like our first tournament or whatever, and then someone's like, why would you do that? Put that on a Ramfire. And they're like, nah, I want it on the shittiest thing that I can possibly get, the lowest level character, just to troll you guys, and it'll become a meme.
And then that will be rare.
That will be rare then, because it's the only one. It's like, why would you put the rarest item on the most common Iluvatar? Like, you're a monster. How could you?
Yeah, one quick question, and then I'm going to move on here. Justin Flournoy says, what will mint price be for these Iluvitars?
Well, I have no idea, because the pricing that I put out originally was somewhat accepted by the council, and then when the draft got opened up to the community was up in arms saying, how could they be at this price? And so I don't know. We're really going back and forth there, but we've got some time. Like I would say, Iluvitars, you're not going to see them until probably, somewhere around Feb.
Okay, awesome, man. Have you had any run-ins with? You mentioned Link Marines earlier. Like, how are they doing? Are they still as vicious as always, or I haven't been in the DeFi scene for?
No, we go to war together with the Link Marines.
Oh, shit.
We're one. Yeah.
I love that, man. All right, I'm gonna touch on the auto battler, man, because honestly that was the one that drew me in first. Big TFT player. Me and my buddies honestly are playing more TFT now to try to get ready for Illuvium. Like Riot Games should be thanking you, because we're playing it and spending more time in TFT just to get ready for your auto battler. What is the update there as far as the game is concerned? When can we expect to start getting into Illuvium, man?
Well, so that's what the alpha is going to be, or it's either going to be. I gotta sit down with Aaron, but it's either going to be the survival mode, which is very similar to the auto battler, or it's going to be the auto battler. But it's as you saw in the trailer, those were real battles, and like the 3 minutes of footage that we put out after, again, they're real battles, and 100% movement was a little bit buggy. The actual the attacks and from the alluvials looked a little bit clunky, a little bit buggy, and so everything we're trying to polish it up. I to be honest, I actually can't believe that Aaron wants to get out the alpha in December. He's really, really gunning for it. And that means that I don't get as involved in the everyday development. Obviously, I see the new versions every time they come out each week. But that makes me super confident that he's actually going to allow people to see what he's building. And so, I think we're in a pretty good place with where the auto battler is at. And then, that obviously means that the survival mode will be quickly before that. At around that time, where I'm a little bit concerned is the overworld. That's where we need to do a little bit of work.
So let's break that down really quick, because even myself, I need a bit of a kind of TLDR on the difference between the survival mode and the auto battler, as well as then we can hop into open world, because that's honestly another whole aspect that just gets my mind just blown. So what is that difference between the auto battler and the survival mode that's coming first?
Sure. So the survival mode is essentially, think of it like a training grounds. And the way that it works is you're basically like, have you ever played like tower defense?
Yes.
Okay, so you have constant waves coming at you, right? And they get either bigger or stronger or different, more powerful creatures keep on coming out. In Illuvium, what we're trying to do is actually teach people how to compile a good character set. And so you need to, a lot of it is combating whatever your opponent is putting down as well, right? When you're inside these battles. And so you are coming up against, it might be the first round might be two squizzes and a thylacine or something like that. And then it will become two squizzes, a ramfire, and a Tiktaalik. And then it'll come, 5 of them will come at you, 6 of them will come at you. And as you defeat each wave, you complete the round until you get to a point where it's like there's just a mountain of alluvials coming at you. They've all synergized, that so you just can't win. And we're connecting that to play to earn as well. So you'll actually earn some in-game yield if you do that. In terms of like the sort of storyline behind like what is that, it is meant to be like an AI system where it essentially malfunctions. It locks the person in, and until you die, like you're dead no matter what, right? Like those waves will go up to like 8 trillion, and eventually you're not going to be skillful enough to win.
So we've touched on 4 or 5 different features already within Illuvium, and we haven't even gotten to the open world concept, which when we were talking the first time, that's where one of the funniest and most viral moments that will happen in Illuvium will happen there, when someone runs into some like $100,000 worth NFT and they throw essentially what is a Pokeball for those that are here, and it like runs away or it misses, and then you see that on stream. Like that's gonna happen in open world, and I can't wait. So
100%.
Hope it's not me.
Yeah, I joke. Yeah, same with me. I mean, I joke around. It's probably going to be some poor scholar out there where it's just a ridiculous, life-changing moment, and he's just like, I cannot believe I've come across that, or she, and it's just like, what the fuck? But hopefully not, and hopefully it's Kane that comes up against that, and he's only gone into the world with the tier 1 shard. But yeah, so essentially it's an open world. We've gone for pretty crazy biomes, right? So the idea is that the environment changes almost like it's almost polar opposites across the board in all 7 regions. You use obelisks to travel to the different regions, and as you go through, we're probably only going to have 3 available in the open beta when we first launch. But the idea is to go up to those 7 different regions. You've got a jetpack to help you get around. You don't start with it. You've got to do a whole bunch of things in the overworld, like mine for resources, and then you go and basically build this jetpack. You then have things like mag boots, which also help you get around the different crazy spaces. If you've seen some of the concepts that we've put out, you know, you're talking like there's like lightning, and then you've got massive water events that are happening. Then you've got, you know, like there's flooding, then there's fire, and there's like magma. There's just all sorts of crazy shit that's going on. And essentially, it's your job to then find these alluvials, and then when you find them, you basically go into, I'm not going to go into, we actually haven't finalized 100% how you enter the encounter, but essentially you see the alluvial, or you see something that represents the alluvial, you then enter the encounter, and then the auto battler starts. So it's interesting that the PvP component of it is an auto battler, where it would be like you and someone else of the same level go against each other and you fight it out. In an auto battler sense, it's the exact same in the overworld, except you're playing NPCs rather than humans. And so, yeah, it's pretty exciting. There's lots of different stuff that we can expand on in the overworld. And I think like the collector in me, I'd like that you're saying you play TFT and whatever, and like I do as well, and I like it. But I think I just can't wait to get into that world and just start capturing the alluvials. Like for me, it's about the collecting.
Yeah, I love that, man. I got a couple community questions I want to get to, but I did want to ask, like, what is your inspiration for all of those things that you mentioned. Like you got super, I guess, excited when you were talking about the environment. And when oftentimes when I'm talking to founders, they're talking about their, experiences in RuneScape or World of Warcraft or EverQuest. Do you take any inspiration from any certain games or types that lead to Illuvium?
Well, so I've been a huge MOBA player, but like games as well, like Zelda, Ocarina of Time, like I was so addicted to that when I was a kid. And so like, firstly, I'm attracted to super bright color palettes. Like when games have Avatar-esque feel and look, I like it, right? And for some reason, it heightens my senses, and I feel like I'm more part of the world. When it's dark, I'm just not a fan of like your Call of Duties and stuff where it's super dark. I don't know. I make the excuse that I have bad eyes and I should wear glasses. And I'm playing those games and I'm like, I couldn't even see. Like it's bullshit. Like, but in the beautiful Pokemon worlds, it's very nice and lovely, and I think a lot of but probably the biggest thing there with the going back to the MOBAs is just the sheer size of it. I need it to not be boring. I want it to be like, oh God, I've got to go over to a place that's gonna take me literally 10 minutes to get there, and did I forget where it is? And now I've got to ask someone. Like I want it to be a challenge in the overworld and vast. And so I guess that's where my inspiration comes from. But I don't have to, like these days, certainly, like my input in like the game design is very small, but like at the same time, I was like, just give me Pokemon and I'll be happy. And so since then I've been like, build whatever you want, Aaron.
Isn't it nice to be the lead there? Just say, give me Pokemon and see what gets spit out. Dude, I was in your Discord trying to get the episode shared earlier in the day because the time zones, obviously, this is not when I do Nifty Q Show usually, guys. It's usually earlier, but Kieran's over in Australia. I'm looking at your Discord like roles, and it's just team members for like years as I scroll down. And, I got called out by some community members because they thought I was a scammer. So I had a good time in the Illuvium Discord today. It was fun. Thanks, guys.
It's like, the thing is, you can't lie about that stuff. Like, it's right there. And when I hear about games that, like, if I'm looking right now who's online, and there's actually barely any people online, which is concerning, but you did mention it's not ideal time for everyone else around the world, but we always have our team members, like there's always like 40-50 team members that are online at any given time. They're legitimately like we put everyone up on the website. When I hear, like, because obviously I watch a lot of other games founders and how they interview and what they talk about and that kind of stuff. The thing that pisses me off is when founders say like, oh yeah, we're at like 250 people now, and it's like, no, you're not. Like, you could not be physically, unless you're just hiring talent for the sake of hiring it, and like they're not even talented. Then sure, I'll give it to you. But you wouldn't be doing that. You're not, like, it's a situation of, like, if someone can hire faster than what we have, my God, I'll give you a fucking medal. Seriously, because it is been one of the hardest things for us to do, has been to put together, like, we're trying to hire people from AAA studios. We're selling them on the dream of these magical tokens that live on the internet. Like,
that's probably gotten
these
easier.
Artists. It has now. I mean, but when you're nobody, and our first 50 hires were excruciatingly hard.
Yeah. Well, it is. I guess the point that you're making there is like no one can really do that unless you're like really a top 200, 300, 400 project. Even I'm reaching there. Like, it's just jarring to go into his Discord and see that many team members, because there's not that many crypto projects of that size that I talk with on a daily basis.
Yeah, but my point there is, if you were able to do it, you would shout it from the rooftops. You would post it on every single board you possibly could. You'd put it on your website, you'd show it on your Discord. But when they're not matching up, it makes me go, well, how transparent are you actually being? Because it's not a situation of, like, I forgot the team. It's so excruciatingly hard to create a team like this that you want to show it off, right? It's a selling point. And so it rubs me the wrong way sometimes when I see that. I'm like, you don't need to exaggerate your team size. Just don't do that. It's not how you build a community. But anyway, that's just
and the community. I mean, what investors are really like caring about that? Oh my God! Like, oh, you have 200. That's not my first sell point. No. Honestly. So I guess.
No, it's quality over quantity.
Absolutely. You guys completely skipped the whole phase too. We're getting so sidetracked, but I feel like you skipped the startup phase. You guys were a startup for like 2 seconds, and then turned into this massive thing.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, no, that's why I said at the start, like, I've never experienced anything like this before. It's crazy.
Okay, I want to get one thing out of you really quick, and then we'll kind of hop out. But as far as that open world, overworld, I think you called it, what is the timeline there for that? I know that's a bigger project you mentioned, and it rightfully so. It's an open world. What is the kind of the timeline there for its release?
Probably I don't want to say yet. We don't have a time. We don't have an exact timeline on that yet.
2020, Kieran would have told me something there. Would have given me a date.
I probably would have, but not this time. No.
Look at Kieran.
I'm already getting on here. I'm like, what are we? An hour in? Come on.
I got you, man.
Be nice to me.
I will. All right. And he did mention that we're almost an hour in. I think we're like 45 minutes in. So we're going to let him get out of here relatively shortly. So I got one question here. Deck22 is asking, NFTs we received after the IDO, will they have utility in the game? I think I have those, by the way. I have the Rampfire ones, those utility from Balancer, those NFTs from Balancer. I think you guys mentioned that there wouldn't be any utility when you were selling them, but it is a question from the community there.
No, so there isn't any utility. I'll tell you what the utility is. If you hold them, you're going to be a very wealthy person. So just keep holding them, because they are going to be I've said this a billion times, but they are going to be your Pokemon promo cards that they were given out. They weren't really meant to be a thing. They were just marketing and promoting Pokemon at the very, very early stages, have weird shit on them. They were minted in places that weren't the official Illuvium collection. All this type of stuff is what has happened with these Illuvium NFTs, and there's no utility for them, but I guarantee they're going to become the most rare NFTs that we have. And purely for that reason, that will give them the utility of money.
The best utility. Deca, hopefully that is a good utility that you cherish and hold close to your heart. I'm definitely excited to be a holder of those as well, and a supporter early on. All right, we are going to hop out of all of the features. We're going to talk like more broad NFT talk before we let you go, Kieran. So you mentioned scholars like really briefly when we were kind of discussing the gameplay there. Hopefully a scholar isn't one of those people actually. But like, what is your thoughts on play to earn and the whole scholar system that's been made popular by Axie Infinity? And I guess the general discussion is like, it could be bad to have a game be taken over by scholars. Certainly, like, there's a lot of like negatives that come with that. What's your mindset when it comes to play to earn in these games?
Firstly, we're not trying to. We're trying to cater to both, right? We're not trying to rule anyone out. We don't mind. With scholars are a good thing, right? Like, they're giving a scholarship to someone and giving them the ability to change their life through gaming, I think has to be a good thing, right? Now, the way that guilds are going about it right now, there is a huge scalability issue that is happening, right? There's overspill. There's not systems in place right now that allow people to lend their assets, people, guilds, whatever you want to call them, to lend their assets to people who don't have enough capital to buy those assets, to then, as soon as they've made their money in the game, pay those assets back, right? That it doesn't exist. And the guilds are doing it in a very manual way. And I think I'm chatting very, very closely with a new guild that's kind of in stealth mode, kind of out, and we're going to be, they're working really closely with us in terms of being a predominantly desktop related guild. I'm working with them to try and build a system that allows us to scale, so we don't hit this 5,000 scholar mark, 10,000 scholar mark, where there's so much demand for assets that they either don't have them or don't know how to distribute them properly. And so I want to build a system where essentially you've got providers of the assets on one side, and you've got consumers of those assets on the other side, and then there's some sort of an automated system that works out the payments in between. Once that system's out, that's when I think I'll be excited, not just because I'm going to be somewhat a part of it and whatever, but just because I think that makes it fair for scholars, and they're not begging for scholarships right now. It's simply a method of, hey, if you don't have it, this is your way to access play to earn. And it's more a system, not so much a
servitude.
Like you're applying to this one guy, and it's at his discretion. He says yes or no, or you're a good enough gamer. It's just like, it needs to be systematized is what I think.
Yeah. How far have you guys made it in, just a really quick hit, just personally, honestly, how far have you guys made it down that rabbit hole of like trying to figure that solution out?
Yeah, I'm working closely with the guild at the moment, okay. And I think we'll probably launch in the next couple of months, but building the systems out will be, probably a 3 to 6 months journey.
Gotcha.
So we've only just started thinking about what the architecture would actually look like.
I only say that because I mentioned Aavegotchi earlier. Love that project. Love what they're doing. They came out with that automated system to set that up as well. And I thought that was along the ethos of what you're talking about, which is remove the manual process because it's a bitch and it just doesn't need to be there.
100%. Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Man. Dude, this is a fantastic interview, of course. I mean, our last one was really well received as well. This one, I'm certain, will be. You absolutely got after it as well, even though you were a little under the weather. So anything related to Illuvium we didn't hit on, man, that you want to kind of touch on before I let you go here?
No, I think we got to everything. Everything that I wanted to share with you.
He is fading. He's fading fast, people. Okay, so
I sort of am. I'm starting to sweat. I'm like, I'm not feeling good. It's not great. But anyway,
my man,
I'll get through it.
Super appreciative that you came on today. I'm gonna wave a goodbye to our guests and our followers and our viewers here. But just stay on real quick.
Thanks,
after this.
guys.
And
no
guys.
worries. I will.
Fantastic. Another Nifty Q show, guys. Catch me every Wednesday, Thursday. I'm doing these interviews with founders. Not going to be as good as having Kieran on, of course, but I can only get him on like once a quarter. So it is what it is. Peace.
We got to